if I want to hire people in Canada or Europe, what do I need to know?
Yep. Well, the idea is if you go into another country, your U.S. Delaware C Corp, which is what VCs like to invest in.
99% of our companies are that.
You either have to create a subsidiary that can then run, have a bank account, run payroll, or you do what's called an international PEO. Mm-hmm. And an international PEO, just to help your audience, is very similar to the PEOs in the United States, professional employer organizations. And what they do is they employ your company's employees directly. So you are not actually the employer of record. The PEO is. And this has been around for a long time. People did this.
I mean, since the 90s, I started using a PEO in New York in the 90s.
Yeah, exactly. And it was a great innovation, but it wasn't until COVID hit and all of us went kind of remote. The real major benefit you got was that by pooling all these employees across many different companies, they could negotiate really good benefits packages and save you money on the benefits packages. Of course, it was a little bit of like they created value and then their fees were mysteriously almost the exact number of the value they
go
created.
Figure.
Funny how that worked.
$150 a month, $125 a month. Yeah,
that's exactly it.
I basically, and then you could literally do the calculation. Okay, I've hit, 50 employees. It's costing me $70,000. An HR person to come in and manage this would be X amount. Okay, that's
exactly it. But now, and I don't know if you've seen this across your portfolio, Jason, I assume you have. When COVID hit, people started moving away from San Francisco and New York and Austin and moving to all these other states. And so companies found themselves having employees in many different states overnight, which means you have state and local tax requirements, meaning you have to register in that state to do business and you have to register to pay payroll taxes. And what's cool about PEOs is that was kind of like a side benefit that they've always done because, again, the employees are working for the PEO. And so no one really assigned a lot of value to that. But now we've actually seen the PEO market share in cruise clients go from 15% to 30% in 1 year. So doubled. It feels like it's just picking up steam. Now, the alternative is your friendly CPA firm like us will actually do your state and local tax compliance, but it's not something we love. And it's kind of nice to simplify your life and let the PEO do it. Mm. And so that was like the major catalyst for national PEO adoption. And then a funny kind of little thing happened with COVID where founders historically, and you may see this too, they historically had hired internationally in a cluster or a center of excellence. So they might have in Canada or India.
We have a Toronto office in Canada. You get 5 or 6 people. The costs of setting up there for us and the bank accounts and managing it gets spread across 5 people. It suddenly makes sense.
That's exactly it. Or in India, Argentina, Ukraine, all these places.
Sure.
And so in an international PEO was the same thing where you didn't have to set up a subsidiary, which costs a lot of legal dollars and compliance dollars. And an entity in that country would employ your international employees directly. The same thing we just covered. Now, the interesting thing that we're seeing is that all of a sudden founders said to themselves, if I'm going to hire internationally, why don't I just pick the best people regardless of what country they're in? So no more centers of excellence or maybe not as much. And capitalism is amazing. Sure. A whole host of companies that are international POs. And I don't know if you want to get into any names. I can name the names if you want.
I'll leave the names out. Every time I mention a name, then the competitor or somebody else gets mad at me. So I always just extract it. Yeah.
So these companies have filled the void, and now almost like a virtual layer can let you hire in not all, but most countries across the world. And so
it's
now
kind of like, some of these payment processors will allow you to accept payments from 190 countries overnight because you dropped in some code. That's what's happening with these PEOs. You drop in this little bit of code, you start a relationship with them. And sometimes employees also have to figure things out because they might have been domiciled, let's say, in California, and then they decided they were going to go to Florida or Austin, but they kept their place in California. Now, where are they paying taxes? Okay, where do they spend most of the month? What does your system say? Where are they withholding taxes from? You might get into a situation where you're withholding taxes in the wrong place, and you need somebody to help you with that too.
that happens a lot. And it's a hot button for a lot of employees who moved either nationally or internationally, because California and New York, where a lot of startup employees were, are high tax states.
Yes.
So they if they're going to move, we see people moving all over, but the generally lower tax states,
Of course.
they want that change to happen immediately. It's more dollars in their paycheck. So yes, but operating all this stuff actually takes a lot of work. And on the international side, the cool thing about these services is there's an emotion. I feel like there's an emotional benefit to being able to call yourself an employee, even if you're in another country. And
Sure.
oftentimes there's a tangible benefit where you can get benefits. Like, there's people need benefits wherever they live. And so having this international PO aspect actually solves a couple of those problems and makes recruiting these all-stars a heck of a lot easier.